You know it's a family show, right? Always has been, always will be. It's a show you can sit down and watch with your kids. But we have to tackle some of the nastiness in this administration. We always will. We have to talk about what these people do. Who's in this administration? Who runs this country? My friend Raheem Kassam, he's the editor-in-chief of the Great National Pulse, which it's on my daily reading list. If you want real investigative reporting, go find the National Pulse. They dug up some information on this guy in the Biden administration. You undoubtedly remember when Sam Brinton first surfaced, there were all these pictures of this dude in high heels and look, they were gross pictures, but okay, yet another turbo freak in the Biden administration. Maybe not the end of the world. Let's hope that's just something he does on the side. Apparently there's more to this guy. I'm going to allow Raheem to elaborate because it's his story. Raheem, what's up with this guy?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse, for having me back. And you know, I was stunned when our lead researcher, Natalie Winters, brought us this development on this story that we first ran back in February. And I really had thought back then we'd covered everything. I mean, this, you know, I am not trying to be rude about this person, but this is clearly a disturbed person who is working at one of the highest level positions in the nuclear strategic apparatus of the Biden regime, Sam Brinton. And yeah, as you say, look, we saw pictures back in February, videos back in February of this person dressing up in drag, going to college campuses and teaching about this, dressing up in something called pup play. Maybe you can explain that one to me, Jesse. But I for the life of me, I couldn't understand, you know, how there could be anything further worse to do with this person until we found this story today. And, you know, this comes to the heart of apparently what is the Democrat Party platform going into November, which is we want to do things to your children that, you know, beggar belief for even, I think, the most heinous of thinkers in the last several decades now is becoming routine and commonplace. So let me explain. We found that Sam Brinton had actually defended in an article for an LGBT website called The Advocate. He had defended another LGBT directed website. This one was called rentboy.com. Now, rentboy is a British colloquialism that sort of stems from these upper class establishment pedophiles, effectively, who rent young boys. It has been a long-standing, you know, I hate to say joke, but it is a long-standing joke in British political circles that this is commonplace in our politics, unfortunately. And if anybody's following along with British politics right now, there have been several of those incidences in our politics, at least this year. But rentboy.com was really targeted internationally. It was targeted all over the world, and that included the United States. In 2015, the federal government took umbrage with what it saw was rentboy.com's fast and loose application of its own rules and indeed the law as it pertained to underage males. That is boys we're talking about here, people who are not legally able to give consent. And it turned out that rentboy.com was promoting prostitution amongst people like that. When the feds raided rentboy.com and charges were made and indictments were made back then, and the website is now shuttered, there was one person who stood up for that website, and that was Sam Brinton. And Sam Brinton went on to make the claim that the dissolution of Rentboy is more dangerous than allowing the site to continue its work, effectively trafficking children into sex with older men. And Sam Brinton, of course, passed as far as we know, vetting processes within the US government. Lots of questions will be asked, and our reporting includes lots of quotes from his Advocate article where he appears to back this website.
Okay, Raheem, all the other disgusting stuff aside, which we can get back to here in a moment, correct me if I'm wrong, you know a lot about this stuff. Does this not present obvious blackmail opportunity for somebody in a critically important position in the government?
Yeah, so let me be very specific about this. He's not just a routine advisor. He's not some young staff member. That would be bad enough, right? And we've seen plenty of that in this administration already. But to quote his full title for you here, I've got it here. He serves as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition in the Office of Nuclear Energy. That is a decently high-profile position. He will have a decent amount of security clearance. He will have access to a lot of sensitive government information, documents, strategic plans, information on stockpiles, waste facilities, so on and so forth. You can imagine what comes across his desk. And the idea that this person could have passed vetting, could have no Republicans question this, no people on Capitol Hill look into this person's background and say, hey, hold on, wait a minute. And here's the kicker of all of it. This is publicly available information. This doesn't require you to go through his trash cans and spy on him or anything untoward. This requires you to do a Google search under his name for articles that he has written. And apparently nobody in the government and nobody in what's supposed to be the government's opposition, the Republican Party, has done that.
Okay, Raheem, who does the vetting? I mean, obviously you keep bringing this up, and it's a great point that he's been vetted, I suppose. I assume he's been vetted by who? Who did the vetting? Because as you pointed out, you don't exactly have to be Sherlock Holmes to find this stuff. Anyone with a phone can find it. Who's vetting these people?
The problem is when you have a senile president and a, let's say, vice president with questionable morals, then what does it matter if somebody serving under them is compromised by the Chinese Communist Party? What does it matter if somebody under them has published articles defending underage gay prostitution websites? The rot in this administration, in this regime, as I call it, goes right to the top, and it doesn't matter at this point who's doing the vetting, because it's almost like they're saying, doesn't matter anymore. We don't need to vet you. You can do whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want. I don't want to sound, alarmist about this, but this is the worst case scenario you can have, because it means that there's nobody putting their hand up and saying, well, maybe we should think twice about this. That person doesn't exist, and your government is compromised through and through as a result.